There are men who disappear, not physically, socially, slowly, deliberately. They stop returning calls, they cancel plans without guilt. They sit alone on Sunday mornings and feel something most men have never felt. Peace. The world calls them loners, but something is happening inside them that most people will never understand. After 50, a man's relationship with solitude changes completely. When you're young, being alone feels like punishment. It means you weren't chosen, you didn't belong, you failed somehow. But a specific kind of man, and not every man gets here, begins to feel something shift. The silence stops being empty, it becomes full of something. And they start choosing it, deliberately, repeatedly. The question isn't what they're running from, it's what they're running toward. Society has a story about the solitary older man. He's bitter, he's given up. Something went wrong in his life, a divorce, a failure, a wound he never healed. Friends worry, family checks in with that particular tone. Are you okay? Do you need company? What they don't understand is that he's not broken. He's arrived somewhere. There's a passage from Rilke. The poet wrote it over a century ago, and it still lands like a key in a lock. It is good to be solitary, for solitude is difficult, and that something is difficult must be reason enough for us to do it. The men who choose solitude after 50 aren't retreating. They're advancing toward something most people will never stop long enough to find. The first thing that changes is noise tolerance. Men who grow into solitude become exquisitely sensitive to noise. Not just sound, the noise of constant social performance, the laughing at jokes that aren't funny, the opinions delivered to fill silence, the energy spent managing other people's comfort. By 50, many men realize they've spent decades performing a version of themselves for audiences who weren't really watching. And they quietly, almost imperceptibly, stop. They start protecting their inner silence the way they used to protect their time. Because they've discovered something. Inner silence is where they think their clearest thoughts. It's where they feel most like themselves. Psychologist Esther Buchholz, who spent her career studying solitude, found that the capacity to be productively alone is one of the most important markers of psychological maturity. Men who choose solitude after 50 aren't running from connection. They're running toward authenticity. The second transformation is emotional clarity. Most men spend their lives emotionally reactive. Something happens and they feel it, but they don't understand it. The anger surfaces, but the source stays buried. The sadness appears, but the meaning remains opaque. Solitude changes this. When you remove the constant stimulus of other people, something remarkable begins to happen. Your emotions slow down enough to be examined. Men who practice solitude report something that sounds simple but is actually profound. They know what they feel. They know why. They stop confusing tiredness with depression, loneliness with grief, restlessness with dissatisfaction. The Japanese have a concept, ma, which translates as negative space, the pause between notes that gives music its meaning. Older men who choose solitude begin to live in the ma, the space between events, and for the first time they taste something that was always there but never quiet enough to hear. Response instead of reaction. The third transformation goes deeper, identity reformation. By 50, most men have been defined by roles for so long that the roles feel like the self. Father, provider, professional, partner. These aren't bad things, they're real things. But when men begin choosing solitude, something quietly destabilizing begins to happen. The roles fall silent, and in that silence, the question surfaces, who are you when no one is watching? This question terrifies younger men, but older men who have been practicing solitude begin to find it interesting. Not threatening, interesting. Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming who you actually are beneath the layers of who you needed to be for others. He believed it happened primarily in the second half of life, and he believed it required exactly what most people spend their whole lives avoiding: time alone, inside your own mind, long enough to hear what's actually there rather than the echo of what everyone else needed you to be. The fourth transformation is the quietest and perhaps the most profound. Men who have spent years cultivating solitude become genuinely wise. Not knowledgeable, wise. The distinction matters. Knowledge is information organized. Wisdom is pattern recognition that emerges from long, patient, honest observation of your own life. Solitude accelerates this. When you are truly alone, you cannot lie to yourself for long. The stories you've been telling about why the marriage failed, why the career went sideways, why certain relationships always end the same way. Alone, those stories begin to crack. What's underneath isn't always comfortable, but it's true. And truth, held quietly, without needing to perform it for anyone, does something remarkable over time. It liberates. Men in their 50s and 60s who have chosen solitude regularly report a particular quality, a capacity to sit with uncertainty without needing to resolve it, to hold complexity without collapsing into judgment. This is what wisdom actually looks like, not confidence, spaciousness. So what are they becoming, these men who disappear into solitude? They're becoming themselves, fully, at last, themselves. Not the version demanded by career, not the version shaped by other people's expectations, not the performance assembled to earn love or avoid rejection. The men who choose solitude after 50 are doing something rare in a world that has never been louder, more connected, more determined to fill every moment with stimulus. They are stopping. They are listening. And what they hear in the deep silence they've finally earned is not emptiness. It's an interior life so rich, so layered, so quietly alive that the noise of the world, the urgency, the performance, the constant motion begins to sound like what it always was. Distraction from the only thing that was ever real. If you recognized yourself in any part of this, if something in you exhaled while watching, that recognition matters. The capacity to be alone with yourself, fully present to your own interior life, is not a flaw to be fixed. It is an achievement. It is a rare and difficult arrival that most people spend their entire lives moving away from. Whatever solitude means in your life right now, protect it. Something is being built there. Something quiet and essential and completely real. If this spoke to you, there's more where this came from. Subscribe. We'll be here.